And for the sixth time since 1999, with a new blue blood, man, the UConn Huskies, 6 tournament titles since 99. The first team to repeat in, almost 20 years, and only the third team in, the last 33 years to repeat as national champs of college basketball. Pretty impressive stuff out of UConn. And it's another double-digit win, Yurko. They win by 15. Every one of their tournament wins, all 12 of them the last 2 years, have been by double digits. That's a kind of dominance that you have very rarely seen, certainly in modern college basketball history, and they had the all-time best differential for a single tournament this season. Very impressive.
It used to be the Blue Bloods would go to the tournament every single year, too. Isn't that kind of the case of being a Blue Blood?
I guess they're weird. Like, they missed the tournament or they win the championship.
Right.
They've had a very weird 25-year run. I mean, 6 titles.
So you can sit and pound your own back, and you should. You've won back-to-back championships. Congratulations. Wow. But, I mean, there can't be a void in your resume. Well, how come you didn't work these 2 years? How come you didn't come to the tournament 2 years? I mean, that's
weird. You're right.
That's your question mark. That's all. If you're going to be a blue blood, you need to be in the tournament every single year, don't you?
Maybe you're right. But nobody's had more success in terms of winning this tournament than UConn in the last 25 years. That's what's so impressive. But they have had some weird, odd, very down years post Jim Calhoun, and then that. Remember that one weird? Do you remember the coach? Between, so Calhoun won 3, Hurley's won the last 2. Do you remember who won the other one?
No.
He's a former Bull.
Norm Van Leer.
Not
Van Leer?
Norm and Calhoun were tight. They were like this.
Okay, there you go.
I mean, Black and Dollar, big college guys. You guys remember?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you want the answer?
Kevin Ollie.
Yeah.
Former Bull Kevin Ollie. Yurko's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Kevin Ollie won. I mean, that's how weird UConn is.
Actually, who the hell's Kevin Ollie?
Kevin Ollie won he was the head coach when they won one of their tournaments. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
But this
all the credit
team,
in the world goes out to them.
This team was great.
And they're truly a team.
Yes.
Balanced team. That's what they were. I mean, Edie scored 37 last night, but nobody else could help.
No, they basically, did you get the sense, Yerk, that it was like, Edie could have 45, we don't care, nobody's going to...
Not that they didn't care, but if they wanted to settle for twos, they want to play old school basketball, and nobody was going to try threes or attempt threes. So, until the end of the game, did they even have 10 three-point attempts?
I think they waited way too long when they realized the way that game was going to not at least try to stretch that game out to the perimeter and make some shots.
We're willing to fight them. We're willing to combat them. I think they can get enough turnovers over the course of a game to where it would be able to balance and give them opportunities going down the other stretch. Did you count the possessions in the game? Was it a slow, methodical game, the way they like to play it? They like to move. They like to do this and that. There are 2 of those teams doing that yesterday.
I mean, Purdue took 7 threes. That's rare in this day and age to take just 7, and they made just one of them. I mean, 7 threes. You don't see that few attempts.
If I had to guess, the other team made 7 or 8.
They made 6. They didn't shoot it great, but they took 22 and they made 6.
And they made 6.
Yeah.
And already they're
winning
6
times the number of threes made.
Right, but they were winning, by 5 points there. They're 5 points ahead of the other team.
Yeah.
At that point, just because they were attempting some threes.
Yep.
And they were going after it. I just thought, listen, it's great to go down to Edie. It's great to go down to Edie, but at some point, Edie's got to involve somebody else.
Yeah.
At some point, just turning and going to the basket. And, I mean, he had a great game, but he also turned the ball over a couple of times.
They pretty much played it straight up to okay, Edie's going to bury us maybe in the post and he's going to score, but we don't want 3 guys on him where Edie can make a pass out to a wide
When their
open
big guy, though, when their big guy went out, when he went out, that's when they came to double down, and that's when it was time to employ some of those guys. But they weren't canning anything. He really kind of had no help. There were 2 guys scoring for Purdue, and after that, nobody else could.
I mean, he took twice as many shots as anybody else on his team. He did play great. Yerk's right. I mean, he had 37 and 10 and 2 blocks in a championship game. I mean, it's great, but it's just...
What was his effort as far as attempts and made?
15 out of 25. He was 7 of 10 from the free throw line, right at his career average. He's a 70% free throw shooter. He's a good free throw shooter for a big man. Played 39 minutes. I think the combination of all the minutes he has played, we were talking about it yesterday, he's in amazing shape for a guy who's 7'4". Amazing.
Yeah, did you see Klingen? Is it Klingen?
Klingen
go out of the game the first time, huffing and puffing on the sideline.
I think
I'm like, my God. Zach Edey looks like a marathoner compared to that guy.
He's in amazing shape. I think the combination of all the minutes he played and the talent level of Klingon being unlike probably anybody he's had to face defensively in this tournament sort of wore on him as the game went on a little bit. I just don't know what else that kid could have done.
How about number three? What was his stat line? I watched the game live happening. Nobody looked overly impressive.
No, I know.
Purdue.
Is Braden Smith number 3?
Yeah.
You want his stat line?
Yeah.
He was
Shots
4 of 12.
Yeah, 4 of 12.
And he was the one who made their only 3.
Right.
So just 12 shots.
He shot 60. Edey shot 60% from the field. I think everybody else on the team didn't shoot close to 35%.
No, you're right about that. Yeah, I don't know. Lawyer was 0 for 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, that's your problem. You needed scoring elsewhere so they can concentrate on things elsewhere. That's what you were looking for. Yeah. If somebody else is a viable threat, then they've got then something else can possibly happen.
Meantime, that Connecticut team, like you said, just kind of spread it around. They are a team. You had a guy with 20, a guy with 15, and 2 guys with 11.
Yep.
They just sort of spread it around. They didn't have to.
Everybody took their turn.
Yeah.
And when you needed something special, Connecticut was there always to answer, whether it was a key three-pointer. Like, I felt like they had gotten the game down to 9. And, okay, now you're looking to solidify. Now you're looking to close it down. And then Connecticut would hit a 3. Or Connecticut would do something, force a turnover, come down and get a big bucket.
Right.
Anytime it looked like Purdue was trying to build some momentum to make a comeback, it was quickly squashed right away by something, a Connecticut response.
Danny Hurley sort of hinted afterwards that he's not going anywhere, that they've got thoughts of being a dynasty, maybe, like you said, getting to the tournament every single year. I mean, UConn has had a weird 25-year history here.
How many guys did they lose off of this team?
Well, that's a good question. Now, they lost 3 guys to the NBA last year, 2 to the draft and 1 to a free agent, Adam Sanogo, who was with the Bulls on, I think, an up-down a lot of the year. They lost 3 guys off of last year's team to the NBA. Does Klingon go? I mean, Spencer's done, right? Wasn't Spencer a 5th-year senior? See, like a lot of the guys are done now.
Does Klingon go where?
Does he go to the NBA?
If you're telling me Edey can't play in the NBA, how the hell is Klingon going to play?
I think he's projected as a top 10 pick.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people that have him in the top 5.
Yeah, he's a lot quicker.
A lot quicker. He was dominated by Edey.
Well,
he was dominated by Edey. That's fair to say.
Edey's overpowering. Was able to overpower him. That's for sure.
The guy that overpowered him is not good enough to play in the NBA, and the guy that got overpowered is good enough to play in the NBA.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't get it.
Like, Zach Edey he won't be able to overpower guys like that in the NBA. I think that's part of the problem. And it's just his feet are slow. He's just got slow feet.
No, I understand what you're saying. I've watched the same basketball you've watched. But all of a sudden, that guy is a top 10 pick.
I think.
Hey, listen, I don't know. I'm not saying he'll be good.
If he's a top 10 pick, this is a 4-player NBA draft then. No, let's be honest with each other, though.
Well, I think they see his defensive abilities, especially in the earlier rounds. The ability to be near the free throw line and then to erase anything near the basket in recovery, I think is something. Yeah, I think that's what they see. And then obviously he does have some decent offensive moves as well.
I think
he's not as stiff as Edey.
I think there's some like switchy things that teams might look at him, think that we can do some switchy things with him in the perimeter, and then we can play a lot of drop with him and his recovery and ability to protect the rim. Like, I think there's some upside there.
Pick and pop game. You know, Bill Lambier, you could play pick and pop with him, and he can can a 17-footer at any time.
He was great at it.
I don't see this guy doing any of that.
No, I don't. I didn't either.
At none.
I think a lot of it's going to be based on maybe, like Chris said, some defensive stuff.
If you told me both of these guys were going to Europe to play, I'd say okay. But one's a top 10 pick. The other guy that scored 37 and dominated him, make him look like a fool, sent him to the sidelines out of breath.
Yeah.
I think it's more important if he can rim run. Yeah. So after the dribble handoff, he can then dive. And it's essentially what Gobert does.
Yeah.
Gobert can't shoot from the outside.
Gobert can't shoot a lick. Gobert's weaknesses offensively have hurt his teams in the playoffs historically. They just have.
Or to a lesser extent, who's the player? We just talked about him for Washington. He was a former Bulls player, young Daniel Gafford.
Who's now in Dallas.
He is a pick and dive type of guy.
Yes. Why do you think he had a run of 33 straight made field goals?
He's not shooting from the outside.
Basket.
Yes, everything's around the basket. Yes. I think that's probably going to be an NBA team's like long-term view for Klingon. And I don't know that he's going this year or not. I mean, he's still young, but like Newton and Spencer, I think, are gone, so they'll lose some guys. Hurley sort of hinted at staying. What do we make of Danny Hurley? I mean, he can obviously coach. Like late in the game yesterday, he's got his hands on his players in the middle of a play, like
right in front of the official,
and then you're yelling at the official, like, come on, dude.
And
like,
Matt Painter's just like, what are you guys doing?
Take a Xanax.
What,
like,
you guys need to have a meeting in the locker room? You guys want to meet with each other to figure out what you guys want to do here?
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, at some point, when is it just show? Like, all right, Danny, we get it. You're fiery.
Right.
Like, what are we doing, dude? You're pushing your player on the floor in the middle of a game in which you're going to win. There's 90 seconds left. Like, calm down, man. Chill. Like, what are we doing? I don't know what to make of Danny
he's
Hurley.
not any more excitable than my guy, Bobby Knight. Back when coaches really had personality and coaches you really knew, and they wore their emotions on their sleeve. Yeah, I grew up in an era where the basketball coaches were almost bigger than college basketball, and they were certainly bigger than the athletes, Carm.
I know, but I think I even recall when his team was up 15 with 90 seconds left, Bob Knight sitting on the bench being like, we won this game. Like,
yeah.
My problem with Hurley is that he seems to whine.
What are we doing?
He whines more about calls than his players do.
Yeah, there's a lot of antics.
It's
a lot.
Like, you think that coaches are supposed to have a decor. This dude's MF in the refs. I know when someone says the F word. You can read lips.
But maybe that's what he's told his kids. That's my role. My role is to argue. You guys never argue with him. Never put yourself in a position where you can get booted. I'll be the guy that puts myself out there, and I'll argue with the officials on your behalf. So maybe that's his edict that he's got to his player.
That could be. Maybe he's got a little Harbaugh in him, like just some weird eccentricities that you need to have to be a really great
He wears
head
better
coach.
pants. He wears better pants.
He does wear better pants. There's just like a bizarreness and a weirdness about him. But hey, we embrace weird. That's all right, I guess. But like, you can't push your player in the middle of a play and then get mad at the officials when they call a technical.
You actually can't be out of the coaching box.
You can't be out of the coaching box.
And then you can't be on the court touching a player.
What are we doing?
And then the official's just looking at him going, oh, duh, what am I doing here? Duh.
This isn't practice. This isn't a bunch of fifth graders playing, and
if you're looking
what are we doing?
If you're looking to defend the officials, call somebody else. Don't call my show today, okay? Because
what did you think? Did you think it was a poorly officiated game?
No, not at all. I thought they let him play. I thought
they let him play. Yeah,
I thought it was fantastic. They called a couple of fouls early, just to let him know. Okay, listen, if you guys are going to be, you guys are going to be reckless, we'll call it. But I think they allowed him to play. I think there's a little more traveling going on in the college basketball game. It's not the NBA. You can't take 6 steps. I thought they got Edey a couple of times shuffling his feet, and they called the travel on the feet shuffling that he has a tendency to do. I thought there were 3-4 other cases they could have called traveling where guys just look like they got the ball in their hands and they're just shuffling their feet. Call the travel. It's the easiest call in the world to make. Do it. But I thought it was a well-officiated ball game. I thought they let him play. I thought the best team won.
Yeah.
Best team won. Right. But the best player on the court was Edey.
Yes, he was. He most certainly was.
Bar none.
He most certainly was last night. If you want to react to the title game, you can ring us up at 312-332-3776. We'll get into some baseball stuff. Another adventurous, eventful day for our baseball teams. I mean, the White Sox are trending to all-time bad. The Cubs
We're gonna have fun with it.
Great and had a huge lead and blew it. We got to talk about that. I also want to play for you coming up, Pete Thamel, something he said on College Game Day about the Kentucky job and Billy Donovan. He actually led his report with Billy Donovan, but just want to fill everybody in on that. And we can discuss it a little. We'll segue to some baseball. We got football today, Jesse Rogers later on. Plus, you'll get another whiskey fact of the day, and you could qualify for Wee Whiskey Fest tickets. The last of these Highlander VIP ticket packages that we have to give away. We got 2 pairs of these to give away at the end of the week, and you can qualify all week long. We had 2 qualifiers yesterday. We'll have 2 more today. These ticket packages are valued at like $300, so it's a really valuable ticket for the Wee Whiskey Fest up in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, the weekend of April 19th. So details on that coming up. It's Carmen and your